All right, we're going to open the meeting with the pledge to the flag. Join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Steve Primo is running late tonight, so we might have to change some things up depending on how fast we get through some of the agenda. But we're going to do Doug Miller, if you want to come up and talk about the engineering report.
Good evening. First on the agenda tonight is the annual MS4 report, and the MS4 report is part of the Clean Water Act from 1987. It's trickled down into stormwater activities for municipalities. And MS4 is a municipal separate storm sewer system. And the Village of Phoenix qualifies as an MS4. So on an annual basis, we put together a report that is sent off to DEC. And one of the requirements is to just notify the public that the report has been put together. It's basically it captures all the things that the village has done for the year, and it's sent off to DEC. The requirement is to garner any public input. So tonight I'll briefly go over the report, and then I'm working with Jim and John Turkey to finalize a couple of reporting things that need to be still buttoned up, and then we'll get it over to Roxanne. We'll put it on the web, and it'll be on there for until June 1st when we send it into DEC, New York State. So basically, what's in the report there are 6 reporting criteria. The first one is public education and outreach. The second is public involvement and participation. Third one is illicit discharge detection. Fourth is construction site runoff. Fifth is construction stormwater control. And the last one is pollution prevention and good housekeeping. So basically what we do here is the first 2 items, public education and public involvement. The village contracts with Central New York Regional Planning, and they cover those 2 aspects. And you may not see it, but things like in the local papers, you'll see an advertisement maybe for Earth Day. The Post Standard, I think about 2 weeks ago, had an insert on stormwater. It pays for advertising on the local television stations, those type of activities, and that qualifies, and that's all documented in the report that we'll have completed later this week. Illicit discharge, the DPW checks the outfalls that come from the stormwater system to the river. I believe there's 6 outfalls that they check on an annual basis, and watch those for any type of heat or pollutants. The 4th and 5th are construction items, runoff control and post-construction stormwater. Over the last year, there's been minimal construction activity in the village, so there hasn't been much to report on. Likewise with the post-construction stormwater of those sites. And the last piece is the good housekeeping. And down at the DPW, the guys keep track of how many miles of street they sweep, how many catch basins they clean, and the different housekeeping things they do at the DPW garage. It's a pretty dry report, but if anybody has any questions or comments, we'd be welcome to field them. Like I said, hopefully by the end of the week, we'll have something up on the website.
Does the use of salt have anything to do with it on the road thing on it?
Yeah, they're
tested.
Yeah, they ask how much salt is used. They also ask how much fertilizer is used on an annual basis on village properties, because they're concerned with the salt runoff and the nitrogen and phosphorus going into the natural waterways. Yep. Okay, so that's that. I think the other two items we had were just a quick update on the water project. We're plugging along in the water project. We went out, I don't know if you're out there, where we're going to do the tie-in, but we had surveyors out there. We're working on final drawings. The building that we'll construct, we sent some typical details to Jim. You can put all kinds of, on the building we're going to use, you can use all kinds of siding, so you can use brick, wood, soup to nuts. I've used these before. So when we get the final drawings, we'll work with Jim to get something that'll plug right in there. The sewer project, we're working on that in parallel. We'll look at that belt press building. End of the month, we'll have those drawings ready to go. The flow monitors are in. We're getting good data. We've got a report coming up that we'll get into DEC on that. I think that's it. Go ahead, Dave.
The belt press, we've had that quite a while now.
Yep.
You buy something new, there's a guarantee or warranty on it. Is that all the warranties, you know, we've had for a long time?
Not that I'm aware of, because we haven't started it up yet. But we'll double check on that. And we still have payments that we owe the guy in the Senate, correct? So we've still got that leverage.
Okay, I'll make sure, you know,
Yep.
even when we use it, we bought it here, when the warranty runs out, right? Okay. How about the roof, or the sewage treatment plant?
We haven't done anything on the roof. Do we want to do something? Do we want to move forward with that? Or?
Well, we put that in our grand plan for our financing, just, you know, how far do you want to go right now? Do you want to get a few things finalized until you step into something different? It's up to the board. I mean, it all costs money. I'd like to have him finalize a few things that he started and get things in place and then move on, honestly.
I know in the past, the operators down there have shown concerns. How the operators handling now? Have we heard any update from them? Or?
It's no different than it has been for the last couple of years. You know, it's a nuisance, but it's not, you can still work around it. I mean, you can't put a Band-Aid on it. You either gotta fix it or you gotta work around it.
Yeah.
Was there a study, help me Jim, was there a study done on that as to what it would cost? The previous engineer, do you remember?
I wasn't privileged to that. No, I haven't seen anything. There was sampling and taking of the roof, which I think Doug's familiar with.
Yep.
To get a,
Yeah, the coupons were taken out of the roof to see what roof structure actually looks like. And I don't know what the depth of the built-up roof is. And, you know, I'm assuming that you know when we went up and looked, there's asbestos felts and probably flashing, probably all non-friable materials and mastic and whatnot. So normally you test for that, and when you do move forward on the roof, it would probably apply for a variance, so you wouldn't have to go to full abatement.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for Doug?
not that.
All right, save you all, Mike. Do you want to go over anything else, or?
No, I think that's it for now.
Okay, good.
I'm not sure if we have to approve the report. We'll have to see when it gets here. But I know we can do that last year.
When he gets the
Final
final.
finalize. Okay. So,
Yeah, when we finalize, it'll be for your signature.
all right. Thank you. Moving on, we'll go to the mayor and trustee reports. I do have quite a long trailer on this. The first one is I've been conducting interviews for the open trustee position, and I do have an appointment that I would like to make tonight with the trustee approval on it. It is John Burgess. If you want to stand up. John obviously is a resident here in Phoenix. She does have younger kids that are active in the community, so I think it would be a good fit to have on board. I'm just looking for trustee approval tonight, and we can start it.
Make a motion for it, I guess, unless anybody has any questions or.
He does background check.
He knows everything about you now, so just know that. I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay, I got a second?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. You can join us. Thank you.
We can break it down in front of this paper tonight.
The next one is talking about, I mentioned the water committee a while, and I'm looking for people from the public to be part of that. It's going to be an open meeting, so anybody can go to it, but I'm looking for a couple of individuals to actually help run the meeting, along with a couple of trustees, to sit on the board. Just so there's guidance there's somebody there that's trying to take control, make sure everything's going through orderly, but then again, just to make sure the public's informed, asking the right questions. My main focus with this is to look at our budget, our water budget, go through it, or even our sewer budget, and try to compare it to other towns, municipalities, what they're doing, how are they saving money. It's really just to open that communication, that discussion. I've done this for the past 2 years, I think, I was working on the water, trying to ask the right questions. I was looking more at the financial end of it, but we do need to have that committee to ask those questions that everybody's trying to think of. Not one person's going to be able to do it, so I think that would be a good fit. So if you do have the opportunity, you would like to join the committee, either as a representative or a board member of it, so you're actually one of the 4 committee members is what I'm looking at, 2 trustees, 2 public, or if you just want to be part of the discussion. If you can email the village or myself, or just stop down and talk to Roxanne, get your name, number, and we'll let you know when the first meeting is. We'll try to help you out. My next thing is I'd like to see the village do a quarterly newsletter. Obviously, our main part for communication is coming to the board meetings every other week, bi-monthly, or twice a month. But I know there's a lot of times that people are working, they can't make it to the meetings, but they still need to be informed. We do have the minutes online, but they are sometimes tedious to read through. You don't know which ones are important. You want to try to identify the ones that you really want the information for. So I'm hoping with the quarterly newsletter, we can get the village information out, update everybody, go to an email option to save somebody down the road. But I think it would be a good fit. But then also letting people know what's going on in the community. We can have a calendar part of there, so all the organizations in Phoenix can be advertised at one time. We met with the DEC this past week. The village has been under consent order for the sanitary sewer system for the last, since '06. And again, it was a communication problem that brought us to this meeting. We are still trying to finalize the agenda, the list, whatever we have to get done on our end to be able to expand the system. I was hoping to have something from the DEC fairly quickly as a turnaround. We did meet last week, on Friday, so it was a quick expectation to have something in hand tonight. But hopefully by the end of the week, we'll have some kind of communication from them saying what the consent order consists of, and make sure we're on the right path for that.
Right. Did they give any hint what we've got, what other hoops we got to jump through?
From the meeting, from what I got out of it, is that we're jumping through the right hoops. It's just it wasn't being communicated correctly. So everything that we've been trying to do, we're on the right path. It's not fast enough for the DEC, but obviously you can't go too fast because it does cost quite a bit. But everything that we've started, it looks like in the short term, we're on the right path. And then hopefully the next communication will be, what's the long-term goal? What do we have to see? How many years do we have it at? Yep. The other part is New York State has announced the New York State Consolidated Funding Application. This is something that Christie always has. I believe the deadline is July 31st for this, so it's a very quick turnaround. And it's consolidated funding, so any projects that are going on, water, the sewer treatment plant, those are some of the big items that we want to look at. I gave Christie a fairly long list and said, asked her if she can point out the areas where it would be funding, if they qualify for any of the bullet points. So that's in her hands right now. Hopefully at the next meeting I'll be able to give you a list of what her recommendations are.
Is this a new fund?
Every year they do this. And
Okay,
it's,
so you already mentioned that.
Yep, okay, so instead of doing all the individual little funds, New York State has consolidated. I believe last time she told us they consolidated to speed up time. I hope it doesn't really speed up time when it arrives. So just time on our end. That's all that I had for tonight, so pass it on to the trustees. Mike, you have
For once, I don't have anything.
So,
Shockingly not.
Okay. We'll open it up to the departments. Chief Nerber could not be present tonight, so we're going to skip the police report. I don't see a representative from the police department either. Must be on the call doing their job. Jim.
Yeah, I'll be quick. Most of my stuff has been talked about by either Doug or yourself, Mayor, and then I believe Steve Primo will touch on a few things. I was not able to get a rental for the microphones, as you can see, because the lower cost vendor does not rent them. So I'm trying to work out some details there, hopefully for the next meeting. The only other thing that I have is, Doug, I'm hoping maybe you can help me with this, is we have to do a, how do I want to say this? What do we have to do with the manhole? An elevation? All the manholes for the hydraulic analysis, it's an elevation?
Yeah, we have rim elevations on all the manholes.
Okay.
From the reports we have, there were depths taken from the top of the manholes down, but in order to plug it into the model, the mathematical model, the EPC to make this do, we need to get
The rim
actual
elevation?
rim elevations.
There was some data that was collected by our previous engineer, and the quotes that we got were about $8,000 to do this job. We're talking with Doug and Tim Sealer, Doug's associate. We can rent a GPS handheld unit with and a pole to measure all the manhole heights. Out of my comfort zone, Doug, I know nothing about it. However, I spoke to the representative from Admar. He says it's a pretty easy, user-friendly tool. Might take a day to get used to. The rental fee for a week is $720. I spoke with the DPW guys. They would like to go out and survey the manholes anyways to see what we need. Repairs, risers, covers, anything. So we'd like to survey them anyways. When we're out there, we can perform this. They feel comfortable. They can get this done in a week. It's a huge cost savings. It needs to be done. So I'm looking to see if the board is okay to approve that purchase of the $720 rental fee. It's not something you can buy. It's thousands of dollars to buy it. That's the best option for us right now. The only other option is to send it to an outside vendor, and it's close to $8,000. So, Doug, do you feel comfortable? I know we've spoke, but just in front of the board, it is something that you feel comfortable that the DPW can do?
Yeah, I think the information was sent you on the rental.
Yep.
I think it said that they would help the guys get it set up.
Yeah, they have a half a day on-site training, but they said usually when somebody, like a municipality with a few guys that are going to handle this, would try it for a day or two, they can call with some questions, get acclimated. If they have a question or concern, then you can dedicate yourself to the training, but you don't want to rent that first. Just, you want to rent the unit, go through the instructions. It's pretty simple. Then Tim has CAD. So then the company will download all the information to our engineers, and then they'll prepare a report. It's a huge cost savings with everything else we got going on in relation to the hydraulic analysis. I think it would be in our benefit to at least give it a try. So I'm looking for approval to rent that, maybe for the next week or the week after. I'm not sure what week it'll be, but it'll be soon.
Any questions from the board?
I have one. Are we able to, this is a nitpicky thing, but for the testing, are we able to do just a verification test before we go through and have the entire survey done? So say DPW guys get used to the tool, they test it, send it over to Tim. Tim verifies that that comes out the way it's supposed to, then we go through and do the entire survey. Instead of doing the entire survey, find out we did it wrong.
I think with the rollover pole and the handheld unit, you can tell by looking at it what the measurement is and if it's correct, based on your points.
Yeah, and I think, generally speaking, John knows what the elevation should be. We should be able to take a look and see exactly what, if it's on or if it's off. So it should calibrate itself, just with the initial.
But
Is that your question, Mike?
that definitely warrants, I mean, when we get the unit, we can find out if we do a couple of tests, send it over. Does this look okay, and proceed?
We've got control out of the water tie-in. So what we could do is we could take the unit and just go to the benchmark out there, click on it and make sure it's the right elevation. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, doing
So
that.
I'm sure we got a spike in a tree out there. So we have Brian Associates out there.
That would be perfect. That makes me feel very good about it.
Any other questions? Can we get a motion for that tonight?
A motion for that?
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And then the last thing is, I put out an RFQ for some sidewalk, linear foot sidewalk pricing estimates so we can decide if it's in our best interest to have our DPW crew perform that or an outside vendor. We did find out through CHIPS, correct, Roxanne, that we can use some of that money, which we're getting more money this year than we did last year. We can use some of that money for sidewalks, which I don't think any of us knew we could do that in the past. I don't know if it's a new program or they just explained it differently, but that's something you should take a look at. So once the numbers come in, I'll present those to you. Figure out. We do have a long list of sidewalk repairs, so take advantage of it.
I know I asked Jim to look into this, just so we could get more done. I know last year, I don't think we did any sidewalks last year, so we didn't have the time.
Did one.
We did one. But the list is growing every year. Residents are willing to pay for that 50-50 split that we guarantee them. And it's a good program, but I know Jim went out and got some quotes. I know one of the issues was that they wanted to look at every different sidewalk, but sidewalks when replaced have to be a certain regulation size. So I asked him to go back, and so when you see us repairing these sidewalks, they might not match up exactly with the old sidewalks, because the old sidewalks could be
Too narrow.
I think we have a foot sidewalk in some spots, but they've got to be 2.5 feet or something, big enough for a wheelchair to go down through. So we're looking at, so if you do see that, we're putting in new sidewalks, you do see some difference, it's because of the new regulations. We want to make sure that we are up to standard and everybody can use the sidewalks.
Well, in that, it's easier just to go by the linear footage, and then you'll know what your cost is based on each square footage could be different, so I'm looking into that. The rest of my stuff, like I said, will be covered by either Steve or has been covered by you, so I'm all set.
For clarification on the sidewalk piece, we're bringing back the sidewalk program that got tabled indefinitely last year, in the early stages of that.
Yeah, it was tabled last year because the guys didn't have time to do it, so that's why we're looking at the outside vendor so that doesn't happen again. But then also, at the end of the season, we had leftover money, but we needed to buy salt for the winter, which was a good thing that we did do that. So yeah, so we're bringing it back. So.
And the process for signing up for that, just go down and put your name on the list?
Yep, just call into Jim, ask for Jim, put the name on the list, and we're just going by the list. So.
Okay.
You're all set?
I don't know if you noticed, but Code Enforcement Officer Don Ryan is here. I asked him to come and introduce himself to the board, so as far as the department head, if you want him to speak, he would be next.
Okay. You want to stand up and give a couple words?
Hi, I'm Don Ryan, welcome. Been here for about a year. Was here back in 05, 06, 07, and left for a while. Currently, we're working on educating the bagging of leaves. It's been a big project for the last 2 weeks. Trying to get the yards cleaned up now that the snow's off the ground. It's a tough time of the year. Everything looks rough. We're making good progress. Most of the people we've been doing a lot of door hangers, the DPW as well as myself, letting them know that they have some issues, rather than just initially going out and violating people. We've had good response from that, positive response. They don't feel like they're being picked on. The ones that don't reply, they can violate. We've had very good response to date with that. Not really a program, but it's an option we have that we've been using. I am available most of the time through my cell phone members or village members for that matter that need me. By the hour, but it's an on-call type thing, which works well for me. I have another job, obviously, so this type of position is perfect for myself. It's worked pretty well here so far. I'll be glad to give you my numbers, post it downstairs also, but feel free to call me anytime. Yourselves, or you can go through Roxanne or Laura if you want to use that avenue also. Any questions? Hi, Steve.
I do have a question, what's the story with the fellow who wants to convert a two-story house to a one-story house?
If they want to,
No problem.
no problem at all, yeah. If you want to, it's more compliant than a residential district anyway, so it's a non-issue.
Okay, good.
Steve, is there a two-story house to a one-story house?
It's a two-family.
Oh, this is two-story, sure.
Okay,
Thanks for coming out.
It's a two-family and they want to go to one.
Probably do that right now.
just making sure I understand.
Correct me if I'm wrong, converting back to one family is fine, but if you increase to two families, that's going to be a special permit? Just so we know.
Some of our zoning districts here do permit one and two family. Quite a few actually. I think this, well, past board, actually, a couple of years ago, we tightened it up a little bit. In certain areas.
There would be something we would review. If somebody wanted to make a two-family out of their single-family home, we would look at our local laws, see that it was permissible in that particular area. We have also business residential also, where business below, residence above. But depending on which blocks they're on, would, yes, allow or no, don't allow. Then they can always go through a variance process to apply for that if it was not allowed.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Skip you over. Okay, you up next?
Well, I know nobody's had a chance to look at this yet, but I mean, I'll start there. This was the only thing that was not on my agenda was the farmers market documents that I've been working with. You hear me? So we've been working with, I've been working with Brian Joe Wood, and I think we're 95% of the way there. I think with some documents. I completed some rules and regulations today. There's some things that might be a little, like the way I sort of had to do for the mayor was, when you're starting off, you don't want to sometimes be as restricted as you have to be later on if you're a really successful market. But I think you're in place for the first. It's going to be July 6th, I think. Yep. Yeah. So I think you'll be in good shape for that.
So are you looking for anything else? Or
No, just if the board can. Well, the way it's set up is this: is the church is going to, the United Methodist Church is sort of going to act as the conduit, and I think Jill, you indicated their attorney's going to look at documents, so, and it's a good thing because I could see them maybe having some, issues with using that entity as your, sort of your, direct line to the market. And so what I suggested was, at some point forming a not-for-profit corporation, sort of sit it out there. But as far as the village is concerned, we're just getting a short form, it's called a license contract, where we're going to license to the farm market, the parameters were State Street from X spot to X spot, and there's going to be a site map, 10 by 10 stalls, spaces, and there's an agreement, there's insurance requirements and things like that. And then, once you get up operating, you see if you have some problems like that. And so all I was concerned about was, I wanted the village board to have to retain the right to be able to change the rules and regulations. All kinds of things can happen. Some are inevitable, some are things that you really have to address. each other and who's got what product and things like that. In some markets, they get big, you know, they actually get an investigation, right, where they go out to the farm and make sure it's home, farm stuff, things like that. So it's, you know, it's sort of crazy, but, you know, this is a small thing we're starting off. So I tried to temper this, and I think I'm going to trim it down a little bit more, but I think we're in shape. And then by the end of the week, we'll have, I think, final documents. And if the board, you know, can just take a look at them, raise any issues, I might ask you to maybe at some point poll the board prior to the next meeting. And, oh no, yeah, so no, we should be in fine shape, yeah. Okay. The other thing is, and I think these are email issues, so everybody probably got these as you were on your way here. But so Roxanne made some copies, but I want you to take a look at. Don, you still here? Don, you were sending a copy of that letter for the rental property inspection.
Was I someone?
Yeah, you were. You were, unless you're, you know, when you get home, you'll see it. You put it on your phone, yeah.
It just went out at 6 p.m. tonight.
All right, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, take it, and for a simple letter, I sort of really went over it a lot because, you know, some things were pointed out to me. You know, some people can take offense to, you know, because essentially I make you accused of, you know, being slumlord just because you own the rental property. So, you know, so I sort of tried to clear that up, and I think those changes you and I discussed, and I went back actually, did it again, there's more changes. So, that's out, and if the board, unless the board members have, you know, if anybody had a problem with it, I would say, you know, wait a week time, let's send them out. And I think the first inspection date was going to be July 15th. July 1st was the drop dead date for registration. Once I keep kicking it out.
But I definitely want to take more time on the 3 minutes I have to look at them before give it a nod.
Yeah. And, well, the laws don't affect anyway.
Yeah, we're not voting on it.
There's nothing really to vote at. You know, I think what you got to do, we got to get a sense from reading the letter, but it disoffends you if you receive it. If it would, then we got to look at it again. I really have tried to sort of explain what we're doing and why. And it really is not an attack on, it's not an attack on property owners in general, and landlords, but we do have an issue here. We have some teen landlords. I don't know how many people realize it, but there are a lot of people from out of state, downstate, bought properties in Phoenix because they were marketed as being, you know, you get a lot more bang for your buck upstate buying properties, and you know what they end up doing is they have a rough time, absentee management stuff, they walk away, and you got some of that. And so as one goes, and one next door goes, and that was noted in our comprehensive plan. We got a pretty high percentage of rental properties here. There seemed to be, it wasn't empirical, it was sort of, you know, anecdotal evidence that it was a lot of absentee things. So,
Steve, will the inspections be once a year?
oh, it's a good question. No, the registration is once a year, okay? The registration, I'll never use it. One of those will make your foot. Yeah. The registration fee is $35, payable once a year. It's not per unit, it's $35. So yeah, unfortunately, a 2-family owner has to pay the same as a 10-unit apartment house. But the inspections are not necessarily every year. The way it works is this, is that initially there's going to be an inspection. If you meet with Don, and what Don's going to do is he's going to prioritize, you know, that we have finite resources, and he's got finite, you know, amount of time. He's going to sort of look around and see what he should target. I mean, he knows, get around the village, where he should be looking at first. We're just obligated by law to be even-handed. We can't, you know, just
willy-nilly go all over the place and pick and choose. So he's gonna do that, and if you get a cooperative landlord who cures violations within an allotted time, there's an initial allotted time, it could be extended. So it's just a matter of cooperation, really. In other words, if you've got a mess on your hands and you need the time, but you're working towards it, once you get your final certificate, you're left alone for 3 years. Okay, now the per unit inspection fee is $25. So taking that two-family example again, you're going to get hit, 35 plus 50, $85. But you won't see that again for 3 years. Unless you're a problem. If you're a problem, he'll be back every year.
Does it matter who's inside the residence? If they re-rent somebody else a year later, or tenants change? Or...
No, it's the owner's responsibility. Obviously the tenants, mean a lot, but the owner ultimately is responsible. So then the onus is on the owner also to sort of change the complexion of the tenancies if you get tenants and they're ruining it. But usually, you fix something up, you can bump around a little bit, you get nicer clientele, and it sort of feeds itself. What was next? Do you want me to talk about the room here?
We talked about the DEC issues already.
Okay. I didn't talk to you last week after I spoke with Joel. According to Joel, I forgot his last name, the gentleman who owns the plaza. Arsenal. They have reached a deal. Joel asked for the agreement, and I would expect that the board will be considering that at the next meeting. And I said, are you sure? Because it's just down to those two. And just to give everybody an explanation, if you don't know about this already, is from the edge of the village out to the plaza and where the Burned Dairy is going. Burned Dairy needs outside water and sewer use. They were going to run a 2-inch line on the other side of 57, and they didn't really serve no purpose, and so, well, it was good for them because it was cheap. It's a private line outside the village, so we didn't really have jurisdiction over it. But in the long run, with the idea of providing public water to outlying properties, it didn't make any sense. Arsenal has been looking for water for years. He's had problems, and he's come to the village from time to time. There's never really been an avenue for him to get it without paying to bring it out himself. So this opportunity arose, and a negotiation started involving Arsenal, Burned Dairy, and Fox Chevrolet, and the dentist, whose name I don't recall, probably has a new age. The dentist dropped off, Fox Chevrolet dropped off, because they've got that building around the corner on 31, in the middle of a lawsuit. Depending on what happens there, they might be vacating here, so they could, you might end up owning that. But Christian, and I had mentioned to Joel, the deal was Burned Dairy came in with a project. It was a standalone thing. He had 2-inch lines and something the village would have been too happy with, but we wanted Burned Dairy too. And it is out in the town. So the deal was, Joel, you're going to pick up the difference between whatever the cost of Burned Dairy was and to bring it to your property. It was the deal. And he said, yeah, I know. So, but they made their deal, and I haven't confirmed it with Christian yet, but if we've already reported on the DEC, it looks like things are coming together there. So maybe something will happen. And I told Joel that I would have a draft agreement to both he and Christian by the end of this week. I'm not plugging in numbers. They're split between the cost of the project. Is their concern how they agree to it? Our concern is that the village engineer is satisfied that the facilities that they're going to install would be adequate public facilities if the utilities were to be extended beyond there to service farther south down 57. So that's what Doug's looking at, and I know you looked quite a bit already, Doug, but I don't think you got the latest probably rendition, right?
No, but I gave a call from Joe Quality's office,
Yeah,
middle of last week,
yeah,
and they had some questions on the water system. So I got that into them, so I think it sounds like they're pretty close, just like you're saying to a deal.
yeah,
They
so,
were asking about, the amount of water, the number of people served by the water, and that kind of thing, that you have a kind of department approval for. So I think Plumlee's office was trying to get that, their final design approved. Once they do, then they'll send it over to us for final signature.
all right, here's the, and I'm gonna suggest this to the board only because, it's really a burned dairy thing, because they've been waiting for a while, as you can see, the site's under construction, and they ran into these problems that, weren't anticipated. They knew there was a sanitary sewer issue, they never knew there was a water issue. There really wasn't until he came into the picture. It's a good thing for the village and the town, so they want to get up and running, and their concern is, well, the dentist backed out, Fox Chevrolet backed out, and you've got all those houses, some of the older board members are, not older, I mean, been on longer, realize that back when I started here, Jim, you remember, like, we had some real problems there with these houses that were connected. They're not direct connections from the main, they go all over the place, it's a connection to connection. And ideally, we'd like to get them all on public water eventually, but if you leave that decision in the hands of the folks who financed the improvement, charging the ransom practically. So I said, Joe, here's what we're gonna do. Here's what I'm gonna suggest, because we've got to figure out a formula and it's gotta be fair. And my thought process is, maybe based on, the assessed value of the time of connection versus the entire assessed value along the network that would be served by that line, and that's the proportion that party pays. So, I threw out a couple of things like that, and he was, no, I don't know. And I said, well, I'll tell you what we can't do, is just leave it in your hands and Christian's hands, because when the dentist wants to connect all of a sudden, because he's selling his building, I know you're gonna be upset because you backed out originally, or when Fox's building shell, we can't be, the village can't be in the middle of something like that, so. But what we can do is approve the contract, you can start construction with the stipulation that within 2 months, the board is gonna approve a formula, and that formula is gonna be the formula, whether you guys like it or not. I mean, it's the way it's gotta be, as a condition of the water service. So that's what I would suggest. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but it's, someone who wants to connect, gotta have something, fair and reasonable. You can't, I remember that couple that moved out of the village because of that whole outside water thing. Heather, 10 years ago. They literally sold that beautiful house down 52nd of Colonial there because they went crazy with this outside water use thing. The guy in between them and the main wasn't paying his water. So our only recourse was to cut off the water, and hurting everybody who's got all these little feeders and all that were, done years ago. Is anyone?
What size line have they figured out? What size line up there?
6 inch.
6?
Right?
6 inch.
6 inches.
Okay.
Which is I guess standard, right, Doug? 6 inch line standard, basically. Good enough.
Depends on what they're serving. I haven't seen anything built on these yet.
They were talking about a 6 inch line, and
Yeah, the preliminary drawings are 6 inch line.
Has anybody had a chance to look at the best value and piggybacking materials? It's very interesting. Just the piggybacking thing, the jury's sort of still out on that because it's sort of it's worked in other places. And what that means basically is that when you put something out for bid or you're out for procurement, and you put in your spec that this would be available for piggybacking, that means some other municipality can look on their website and say, hey, that truck they're looking at, they just got for that price, we want to jump on that deal too. So if you think about it, you know, you've got a seller who's got 2 of those trucks. Every so often that happens, so there's economies of scale, and that's what that's for, but you got to do it both ways. If you want to take advantage of a piggybacking deal, okay, it's got to be permitted in the original bid for procurement that that municipality put in. I run into a fire companies a lot, you know, they'll go to buy a whole fire truck or something like that, then they'll find out, you know, that they want to get it on a piggyback deal, they find out that it wasn't in the original paperwork, barred by law, so the jury's still out on really whether there's any benefit to it, but the way I look at it is, it doesn't really hurt things to adopt a policy like that. The best value standard is another thing, and I feel kind of differently about that. The best value, we're the last state in the United States to adopt the best value standard. We have always, because of the influence on New York City, had it stuck to, you know, lowest responsible bidder. And responsibility, you know, if you ever get into the law about that, you know, you gotta be almost on the debarred list to be found irresponsible. So I've been involved in situations where, you know, we've had 4 bids come in for a public works contract at $150,000, and a 5th one comes in at $100,000, and everybody's saying, "Oh, don't hire that. Oh, bad news, bad news." Oh, you know, bad news. What do you know about it? Bad news. He's got a bad reputation. Well, is he under the bar list? Has he been arrested? So you can't, and you're forced to take that bid, and then you go through the heartache of dealing with this contractor. You know, so this best value standard is for purchasing. It's not for big contracts, but some of these smaller contracts, it really be helpful to us to have this in place, because we can take some of the other things into consideration that we've never been able to take into consideration, like,
For example, microphones, right, and being able to do that instead of having to buy them from the lowest responsible party. So we can actually rent microphones and test them like you're playing.
and you can look at like the location, you know, like, is it, you know, you get 2 RCA microphones or whatever, you're gonna sell them, probably RCA, but you're gonna sell them at the same price, but actually, you know, the one that's slightly higher happens to be the guy who's over in Baldwin's, you know, he went out here in 2 seconds to help you out. You can look at that stuff under best value, and we can't do that under the present law. 2 municipalities do it all the time. When the controller comes in, you get in trouble. So I'm suggesting we go through with the best value and this piggybacking option, and as they come up with more of these things, just like years ago when they allowed these, you know, what they call now state and county bids, you know, when they made certain created those bid lists, that's all that really is a piggybacking deal. You know, it's monstrous, but, you know, years ago they didn't have that, but the more we can do, especially this best value, we're going to see a situation within the next year where we're going to say, I'm glad we have that latitude to go with the best value standard. The nice thing is we're not stuck with it. You can go either or. And it doesn't fit every kind of contract either. For, I want to say it's for purchasing. It's not for public works contracts, okay, unfortunately. So, but it's for purchasing contracts, which the limit right now is $20,000. But there are some contracts that they refer to as big purchasing contracts that fall to $35,000. So a lot of stuff can come under that best value. This police vehicle we have right now with all the nightmares, I forgot what we got, those steep bid prices. It's probably different, but you know, if we had a best value standard, we can look at who's the dealer, are they local, what's their reputation, you know, that kind of thing. We can have that ability. The last thing was the 2 other things. The water meeting in town. I sort of put that. We had a meeting with the town. I wasn't at the earlier meeting, but when we met, it was a nice meeting. Prior to that meeting, I had given the board a memo because I had, you know, just what I knew about history, it wasn't really so much town water history, I was more concerned about, I could never figure out how the operation maintenance worked. And so some clarification is in that. I'm sorry. Thank you, Roxanne. The clarification that we got in that meeting was helpful, so I did a follow-up memo to Jim and Mayor and I think Doug that would make absolutely no sense to you folks without knowing the background. So then I went back the last meeting and I said, it doesn't make sense to give you that without. But I looked at the other one, I said, that's going to be even more confusing. So what I'm trying to do is just sort of put, sort of infill the second memo to say, here's what the concern was, and here's what we found out. So you could sort of be brought up to speed with a one-page memo. I really wanted to, I wanted to get it done. We got sort of sidetracked yesterday with a contract that we're aware of. And I don't mind mentioning it because it was for the new figure. So we had to get done. So sort of putting it but the solar proposal, I was expecting to have received the power purchase agreement, but I still for a copy of the form because I've been looking at it for a while and I find it very interesting, but I emailed all of you, I don't know if it came to as a link, I think I got it through as a PDF, but look at it when you get a chance. It's in that package tonight, and all I was doing was focusing on one page. In California, they form districts to finance these things. And I look at this the same way as like Brandy Brook, we had a problem there. We had a major problem there. It would have involved everybody having to pay for out of their pocket their own sewer lateral, which was, anywhere from, it turned out to be anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500, depending on what your issue was. And they had enough issues out there, so we found a way of financing it. We actually had to do it by local law, and there was a lot of going back and forth with the controller's office because traditionally that was considered purely private, and the village couldn't finance that. But they've expanded these things, so I'm constantly looking at these. If we're going to get into this in a big way, it's tough for people to go to the bank and get, even these tax incentives and things like that. It's tough, If we could do it through a district, now the financing mechanism for solar energy. So there's no financing. Pardon me? There's no financing. Not for what they have right there, I'm talking about, but that's, who's that going to? That's for our village facilities, right? Okay. You're also doing community facilities, it's stretching out even further. That's going to be the next thing, so I was.
So you're looking down the road for
opportunity. Okay. Jim's aware, Jim and I have talked about this before. Other communities are setting up almost like their own little public utility. But we got to get buy-in from the residents, and they can't afford to buy in. So we got to sort of create the mechanism for it. So I've been sort of looking for this. That district, let's see, was by state legislative approval, but I think here to do it with a local setup, we've just got a lot more home rule authority here. It might be something to look at down the road because I could see once these go, you're going to see interest generated. That type of thing. But I have nothing to report next. I didn't get the power purchase agreement. I don't know anything more than I knew a week ago. Yes.
Any questions for Steve?
Actually, Ryan, one thing. Can I just, Steve, I just want to tell the board, especially Mrs. Burgess, who's not aware, anything for this burned area new water line, any administrative costs, our DPW guys checking it out, our code enforcement officer, legal, engineering, there's no cost to the village. It all gets billed to half to burned area, half to Three Rivers Plaza. Correct, Steve? That's how we're setting this whole agreement up.
All we're going to be doing is selling water, and that's a very good point because part of the stipulation is, and, you know, I don't know if it just, I know I mentioned it before, but it sounded like it just dawned on Joel. I said, well, you know, there's gonna come a time when, hopefully, there'll be a petition for a district, in which case, you own those facilities now. You know, he goes, well, who's gonna own the facilities? You know, they're private facilities, they're sitting out in the town, not the villages, you're paying, you haven't put in. We're just selling you water, you've got a line break, you're gonna repair it, you know, and, you know, but there's gonna come a time, I would think, when you'll have an opportunity to get within a district. And he said, whoa, what's that involved? And I said, nothing at all. And of course, you know, you would have been more excited about it, except we already told you we'd give you the district pricing, you know. But the thing he was concerned about is we lose the ability to be reimbursed for their costs. I mean, what they're looking for is fair. They're going to put this line in. As users come down the road later, normally that would be a district expense. As they come on before a district is formed, then they should be entitled to reimbursement. So at some point, they pay for their proportionate share of the line, not the whole line. And that's the formula we've got to sort of play around with. And I was just throwing out, I asked them to propose. I figured 4 groups negotiating over how they're going to split this up would have a better idea of what would be fair than, you know, for me to sit there and, you know, judgment and sort of say what I think. But now it's, you know,
I'm just
might not be
making
a
it,
50-50 split, but whatever they agree, that's gonna be the split, so if it's
I'm just making it
60-40,
clear
yes,
that there's no cost to the village for them hooking up.
yeah, it's a pure, it's a win-win.
What side of the road is the water line on, Brindary side or the Three Rivers Plaza side?
It's currently on Pendergast side.
Brindary side.
It'll go
So
up.
if it were to extend past that with future development, it would go down 57 that way?
Yeah, there'll be a connection point on the south side of the line for future connections down south towards the trailer park and the bridge.
It's going to cross at 56. It's going to cross 57 and 57A Board of Plaza. It's still, yeah. Because running it down this side of the street is too problematic. There's too much in there. There's too much infrastructure in there. Old infrastructure, you could, you know, you got those lines that, you know, running all over the place.
Anything else, Mike? Moving on to abstract for payment, dated May 5th, 2015, in the amount of $62,290.47. So I can get a motion to pay that? Motion. And a second? Aye. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Going to old business, they already have the opportunity to review the April 21st meeting minutes. Any questions? I got a motion to approve that. Can I get a second? A second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. On April 24th, we did a phone poll for a leaf vet. This is a pole behind leaf vet for the DPW to use. I know we had a huge concern with the village residents about bagging all their leaves. We still have to keep the policy in place for the paper bags for anything that we'd have to find out from the DPW what's not allowed to be vacuumed up. Once we have that, we can release it to the public and make sure everybody's understood what has to be in a bag still, what doesn't. But we did have a phone poll. I believe everybody voted yes for it. We just need to ratify that phone poll tonight.
Can I throw in a clarification bit?
Yep.
The leaf, what I call it leaf mower, that's not right. The leaf vacuum is essentially the same sort of idea where the village used to have years ago where you would rake your leaves inside the road and then it'd come by and pick them up. So that we don't have to deal with the bags as much. But we still need to set up, you know, what can and cannot go to the side of the road.
Two larger limbs or something like that would have to still be disposed of properly in bags or.
I'm going to leave it up to the DPW.
Well, also remember, it's a leaf vacuum. So twigs and, you know, you have large brush pickups still, they go around and do their chipping, and anything smaller should still be tied and put off to the side. This is essentially a leaf vacuum. It'll pick up some small stuff, but basically the same rules still apply.
It's for the most annoying part of spring and fall. That was it.
Okay. Can I get a motion to ratify the plan?
Motion.
A second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Under new business, we did have Skyline Solar come in last week, give their presentation. Trustees do have a couple questions that we are presenting to them, but I do want to give the public the opportunity to discuss any concerns, anything like that. So I do want to have a public meeting, open meeting with that. How many days? Can I do it next Tuesday? I'm proposing to have it on May 12th at 7 o'clock here in the Super Memorial Building. Any concerns? Is that okay with everybody?
Basically, be a special meeting, you know, so that the only agenda item would be discussion of this. Information. Pardon me? Just schedule dates for the class, post it on the board, and then regularly speaking, or we want to do that. So, legally, you're not required, but you got to push it out.
Are we gonna be able to, or are we gonna attempt to get the, people on the phone seeing my solar, because I know that half the business, but we're just gonna get them here.
Yep, I talked to them today. They're okay coming to a public hearing for that. They understand the concern from the residents. They want to make sure everybody's comfortable with the idea before we pursue it. So they will be here. They'll have at least one representative. They're holding both gentlemen that came last time. Do I need a motion? Could I get a motion to schedule that on May 12th at 7 o'clock here in the Super Memorial? Could I get a second?
Second
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
Just to be clear, you know, I just, since we're all here, I mean, normally we would use that. I think under our organizational minutes, we provide that the mayor could call for a special meeting or two trustees if we reject it. That's in the organizational minutes.
I do not have any other new business. I believe that takes care of everything we talked about. Steve or Jim?
If I may for a second, the thing I sent you, before Tuesday, if you look at it, it's a step-by-step toolkit for local government for solar. It's I want to say it's from 2009, but I looked at a lot of the stuff. It's still, I mean, it's 2009, 2001, but it's really tiny still. And it's got, you know, California law, obviously, but it's actually gotten better.
Anything else from the trustees? Seeing none, at this time, we'll open up to public comment. Please follow the rules that are on the backside of the agenda. If we need to keep a time limit, because it is, we do have a lot of people here tonight, I will enforce a 5-minute timeline. Hopefully, we don't have to. I just ask you to raise your hand, wait to be called on, and then please approach the podium with your name and address, and then address the board, please. Anybody? Yep.
Hi, my name is Michael Hubbard, and I reside at 19 J Street, Phoenix. Yesterday, there was a disturbance where someone came to my house. They forced their way into my door. They assaulted me, punched me in the face. I wrestled them to the ground out on my porch. I held them down until the police got there. The police got there. They told me to keep sitting on it for longer so they could get their gloves on. They picked him up. They set him on my porch. I told them to get him off of my porch, that I didn't want him on my property. They told me that I needed to settle down, that I was out of control, and that I was escalating the situation. I told them, I screamed F word, get the F off my property. They took him off my property. They asked me to come down to the police station downstairs to make a statement. I made my statement. They said that I needed to go to the police station, or I needed to go to the hospital and get checked because he bit me on my wrist. And I went down to the hospital to get checked. I signed a release saying that I was going to Oswego Hospital. They brought him also to Oswego Hospital, and then they released him there. So when I showed up to the waiting room, he was in that waiting room waiting for me, not in handcuffs. There was no cops officer to protect me. He followed me out of the followed me out of the hospital. I had to ask other nurses to let me in through the emergency door entry. They had to swipe their card and let me in because he was still chasing me down. And I went to the police station last night after I left the hospital, told them that they released him to the same hospital that I was at. They told me that all they were going to do was I needed to go home and I needed to lock my doors. I told them that I wasn't safe, I didn't feel protected. I wanted a restraining order. They said it would take 3 days to put a restraining order in effect. Told them that I wasn't safe. They told me to go home and lock my doors.
Do you live alone?
I have a roommate.
Is this person you had an altercation with somebody you knew already?
I knew this person, yes.
A former friend?
Former friend, but hasn't been a friend for over a year more. I feel let down by the justice system. This person has 2 DWIs, aggravated DWIs within the last 8 months, and he's still walking the streets tonight. And he was drunk yesterday and kicked out of Dusty's before he came to my house and started the altercation with me. And I feel really let down right now by the police station, and I just wanted to come here and say my piece.
That's what I was getting at. I mean, you feel like let down because the police felt like that you had a real, you were a former friend or just like altercation, so it was not as serious a matter.
It was a serious matter.
I'm saying, is that the impression you got? Why the police didn't take it serious?
I feel the police are friends with Bomber, and I feel like he has someone in someone's pocket, and they told him to release him because Bomber told him to release him. That's how I feel.
Unfortunately, obviously our chief is not here tonight. I will bring that up to him. I'll bring up the concern tonight. I'll personally call them after the meeting, but
I feel like
apologize
here to
for
work
the
out.
situation, but we'll try to do it as best as we can.
Thank you for listening.
Does he work at Bombers or something? You mentioned Bombers.
He's his son.
Oh.
Thank you for listening.
Any other public comment? Yes, sir.
My name is Brett Mark, I live at 21 Lock Street. I was a little set back when I got the water bill this past month. I was not aware it was going up, and I was even more mortified that it went up by 25%. I don't know any municipality that raises things like that, 25%. Now, I know there's other things mixed in with that, but I'm a little shocked that most of my neighbors knew nothing about this.
It was a decision that was made in January when it was finally voted on for the new budget. It's mainly because of the line item that was subsidizing the water part of it is gone away. So we had to increase rates and we wouldn't be able to supply water this quarter. Now previously, as a trustee from the previous board, I apologize. I know we should have sent out a letter. It was discussed, it was brought up, but the mayor at the time is the one that has to execute that, and it wasn't done. I know the board could have pressured a little more. So
25%, that's my concern, is the 25%. My reason I'm going up 25%. Nobody that goes up that much. I'm concerned that it was thrust upon us at a 25% income and not a 2%, 5%. Why was it done all at once and not spread out over a time period? I mean, this was no surprise for you. You knew about it.
It was a surprise for me for this one.
Mr. Monica? I'll be honest with you. I mean, you saw what you had to hear it and see what went on here in the fall. I mean, the village has had major water, some locations in the village have had major water problems in the system, over the years, and we've lived with it for a long time. It all came to a head. At the same time, that this GWUDI issue with the Department of Health that came to a head. In the village, the village board, sort of boxed in insofar as certain work's got to be done, it's got to be paid for, and the mayor's on the board, Pendergast, and went to the past board. We looked for financing all over the place. We continue to do that, and hopefully, before it gets worse, we'll find a source of financing, but there really wasn't any choice. And when the Enterprise Fire Department building was sold, and And I'll be honest with you, I didn't realize this either, but it was, there was a chunk of money from that, and I would encourage the mayor, we just couldn't hold that kind of money in reserve. You just can't do it. Municipalities are just, municipalities are supposed to be the opposite of regular people. You don't want to have savings. You get minimal savings. So I used to encourage the mayor, we got to spend this money. I was under the impression, and I think we did spend an awful lot on sanitary sewer and wastewater treatment plant issues, which is a companion mess. And from what I understand, some of this was going towards subsidizing a reduction in the water fund. And if that was done, the way it would have been done is a loan to the water fund. So, I'm almost bringing bad news. It's probably worse than you think it is, because those are loans from the general fund to the water fund that at some point are supposed to be repaid. Now, the nice thing is, when you have, the same person on both sides of the deal, it can defer it forever, but the board's got hands full, have for a while, dealing with the water, and you got a great grant writer. He actually got a lot more than most villages and towns in a similar situation of grant and economic assistance. We really have gone after it, and that's one thing with past administrations, past board. Everybody's been attuned to that. You've been to meetings here before. You see a grant writer here almost every meeting, right? But we're trying not to pay it out of the village's pocket. So I know the board was real sensitive to that.
So what I'm hearing from you is this would be unbeknownst to most of you people, subsidized to the sale of the fire department.
Well,
The money you got from the sale of the fire department.
Financially, in my eyes,
Nobody knew about it.
in my eyes, financially, it wasn't responsible enough. It should have been 3% for the last 10 years, but it wasn't. The rate stayed the same, so that money had to come from somewhere because we were increasing employment and stuff. So that money came out from the other end. So it was using funds on the backside to keep the rates the same, which financially should have never been done. So again, the residents are seeing it hit this year because of that irresponsible financial aspect of it.
So we'll see another hit next year.
My goal is,
3%, that's basically, we should have seen a 3%. My payment will go up 3%, Mr. Mayor.
yeah,
I mean, you understand our concern?
I do.
Well, 25, and I have to pay it, I don't have a choice. And now I'm hearing,
well, next year,
complete on,
I mean, next year,
you guys knew about this, but you didn't know about it.
oh, no,
That's what basically I just heard. You knew it, but kind of y'all.
We have budget meetings, workshops that were open to the public, and people could come and sat and listen to us.
I get no notices on these.
I knew about it when I was there, and I just moved to this area.
It's
I've
posted.
been in my house since '09, I never get any notices from here, other than the water report notice I get in the mail. There's only.
So that's why I proposed that for the newsletter, because we do need to inform the village residents themselves. Everything's posted in the paper, we have an official paper, the Phoenix Register, that we use, that everything's posted in. And it's gotta be checked daily to find those things, which again, it's hard to find. So again, with that newsletter, hopefully we'll open up that communication and get people here actively listening for this.
It's also one of the main impetus behind the mayor's push for the water committee, because other districts don't have the same rates we have. Now, we've kind of inherited a problem where we're trying to look at it now that we have some inflated rates and figure out how do we make this realistic.
I'll pay a lot more than my friends.
Yeah, but the folks who have looked at it in the past and probably gone cross-eyed 30 times are right over there. So the idea is get new eyes on it, get new experience on it, and see if we can come up with a different plan. Because there's got to be something we can do. That's the main reason behind this, that we can try to come up with a better solution. And as of right now, the hope is that we can do that within a quarter, but that's not a promise, and please don't quote me on that.
Yes.
Hi, Caleb Sweet, 49 Bridge Street. I'd like to add a little more to that. 20 I would love to have that. Mine was over 100%. And it's just 24,000 units. So what is your breakdown? How do you work? What did you do to break down to raise some people 25%, other people 100%? Okay.
Before everything changed, there was a capital charge on your water bill.
Yes.
And then there was a water charge. The capital charge was paying for the water. So again, there was another funding source that shouldn't have been there. It should have been put into the per gallon charge. So that was brought in.
Well, what I asked was, what is the breakdown? Like for Aqua, for this area, 2015, 10,000 gallons or units is $2.55 per unit. Now, when it reaches the next 13,000, after that 10,000, it goes $3.35 for that 13,000. And after that, it's $4. What's your breakdown? Because even with that rate, what I use would be less than what I'm paying for this water. $400.
I believe the mayor's looking for the specific numbers, but it's something along, it's $7 a unit, every 1,000.
After 7,000 or 8,000.
After
8,000.
8 is the minimum usage, that's $150, and I think 45 cents. And then for every 1,000 over, that's another $7 for water and sewer.
Why is that so much more than, say, Aqua?
That's what we don't know yet. That's what we.
So that's what we're hoping the committee comes up, but a quick answer, the infrastructure. The system's so old that we're trying to repair it at the same time, because it hasn't been repaired. Aqua's working with a brand new system. So that's the easiest answer I can give you without doing more research on that part.
Okay, so it's really nothing. That's what we can use is pay it. So mine's double. Whereas his is just 25% and then on the line.
Based on usage.
Yeah.
You consume more, so you pay more.
A lot. Well, thank you.
My name's Pendergast, 23 Lock Street. Quite frankly, just listening to you guys on the call. You raise the bills. You don't notify people, and then I'll sit here, oh, well, it's because the other board, the other trustees dropped the ball. So the villagers have to pay for that. You're saying that it should have been 3% over the last 10 years. It wasn't. It is no fault of the villagers. However, now you can make it, boom, now the villagers meet the rate, and we're supposed to roll over and accept it. You guys dropped the ball, and we're paying. Now, Steve, in all due respect, there's certain things that have to be done, but it's how it's done. It should never be done this way. This is a totally unprofessional method that you guys did with this village. And I guess I can pose another question. What diligence did you do to inform the villagers that this was pending? Now, you say you sent out notices, you had these meetings. I've been in this village over 20 years. I never knew of this enterprise thing subsidizing the water bill. I never heard of a meeting specifically either, nor did 15, 20 people who I've had conversations with, not started all by me, nobody heard about any water bill discussions. Until all of a sudden, in the mail, there's their water bill. Now, personally, I think you guys dropped the ball. I think it was unprofessional, and I think it should be retracted. I think you should have a meeting, and I think you should propose an incremental increase in the water bill, not slam us. We shouldn't have to pay for what this board dropped the ball over the last 10 years. It's not fair.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
My name is Larry Roxanne. I live at 25 Elm Street, and I'm going to add to that, and I'm not even going to be bashful. My bill last month was $113. I got my bill this time, about $650.
What's the unit measurement?
It says I used 42,000 gallons in 3 months.
I got
Nothing's changed in my house.
What was the usage before?
Oh, the usage before was 0. Because they didn't take a meter reading. I used my previous at 349. My present says 349. Great, thanks that you didn't read it, but somebody didn't do their job either.
Larry, I did try calling you before the meeting. I don't know if you got the phone call or not. Obviously.
No, and I didn't do the voicemail.
The reading, sometimes the reading doesn't happen because when the DPW crew goes out, they physically can't get to it. Sometimes it's snow in the winter time, sometimes it's animals that are in the property. That won't let them to the reading. So when no reading happens, it comes through as a minimal charge and then made up the next quarter. Because of that situation, when we went to the newer rate, the clerk's office is looking into all those misreadings that happened and trying to figure out a compromise to give you not a 40,000, go back down to the normal reading for the quarter.
Okay, well, the other thing too is I went down and I talked to Mr. Lynch, I talked to Ms. Demo, April 22nd. Asked them to come out and do a reading, they did. After they forgot, and I had to go down, which I took a half a day off of work. They eventually did after I bitched about it, basically. And it appears that the meter is reading right. I think it's running fast. Ms. Demo had put in a work order back in March to have the meter replaced. Today, it's still not changed. I haven't heard anything from anybody about it being done.
It's going to be replaced.
What?
It's not going to be replaced.
Okay, well,
We're to look at the meter to figure out why they did not get a reading.
But you did a work order.
Yes.
Right, and it's never been done.
They came and read it, and your meter was reading.
Okay, but they came and did it because I went down and I bitched about it. You did it in March. You told me that yourself. I came down to you April 22nd. That's a month. And I saw the work order. There was never a date on the work order. So that just sat on somebody's desk and got ignored. Nobody tried to contact me, nothing. You yourself told me that you saw a significant usage change. I would hope that the village would reach out to the resident. Hey, you got a big influx here. Are you leaking? Wait, please.
You did not get a reading the previous quarter.
But you told me you saw the bill, and you saw that there was a huge influx, right? Okay, thank you. And I would hope that the village would reach out to the customer, or the resident in this case, and say, you know what, maybe you got a problem. Nobody ever did that. And there's a leak because I tested it. I didn't use any water in my house for 3 hours. Never changed. So either I did use 42,000 gallons,
So
the meter's
what we're
running
trying to
fast.
say is we didn't use the 42,000 because of that misreading. It read from the initial 2 quarters ago. So
But
it's
nobody
being
notified me of
rebuilt.
that.
It's being rebuilt.
You got a savings because they charged you on that usage of 8,000 gallons, and then when they saw you might have used 20, you're paying that difference plus the 20 of the next quarter.
I understand that
So
now,
that's
but
why
I
it's higher now
mean,
than it would have been before.
you don't think it's a shock when I get my bill and it says I used 42,000 gallons?
Yes. And as someone who, before this all happened, ended up getting a bill for, I think, $800 with the old method.
Well, yeah, mine was 759.
Yeah, mine was the old one when it was the third of what it is now. It was interesting to work out. I can relate a little bit to the sticker shock, especially with it turning out to be a misreading. It wasn't even a misreading, it was a messed up reading. I had a bad meter. But the thing that we need to make sure is known and advertised a bit better is that situations like yours, we're going to and we need to communicate with folks where it was missed last quarter or 2 quarters ago, and now we have a rate increase. You can't charge them 42,000 units at $7 or $14 and an extra $1,000 because it doesn't make sense. They didn't use 42,000.
No, and plus the fact that I didn't even know the rates have changed.
You can't prove that you can. You could have been in Florida the entire time and not using any water.
You know, I mean, and the other part too, like I had spoke to Jim and Roxanne, you know, like these other gentlemen said, why weren't we notified? You could put on this bill, spring cleanup, use biodegradable bags. You guys couldn't have put, oh, by the way, there's a rate increase? You couldn't have put that on there? Because I was told that, well, the village is just trying to save money. Well, you took time to type it on here, but you couldn't type that? I think the village would have been much happier knowing that than about using refuse bags. So, I find you at fault for that, honestly, right? Because we needed to be notified. I mean, okay, I get it. You know, I don't come to the meetings, but I do try to look at the meeting minutes online. Sometimes my work just doesn't work that way. I can't make it. And I understand what you're saying too, David. You're right, you know? But I try to look online and see what's going on.
Yes, on your previous bill, you were charged a minimum?
Yep.
Okay. And then your second one?
The one that I just got.
Yeah. That's taken into account? The gallons from the minimum one plus what you use for...
Yeah, how would I know? I wouldn't know that. I mean, I would have no idea that you guys would do that. What's that?
Wasn't that one significantly less than the bills you were getting before?
Not much.
I mean, if
No,
not,
I usually ran one
savings.
around 150, 160.
But you did notice that we used to was zero on the first bill.
I didn't know why, honestly. I didn't know that. I mean, I'll admit, I mean, I guess I missed that part, but I just looked at the amount. You know, but if nobody, you know, if it's the same, if you don't make if there's nobody there to do a reading, I mean, you guys don't do a reading, you know, why not reach out to the customer? Look at, we're unable to do a reading. Send them a flyer or something.
And that'll be significantly more important right now, given what the rates are.
Yeah.
Kind of it wasn't as big of a deal. Now it's a big deal.
No, it should have always been a big deal. No, it should have always been a big deal. Being in touch with your community is part of the problem why we're at where we're at. That's the problem. Forever, the boards have never communicated with the community. And that's why these people are so annoying. They just got done saying it.
See, that's a major reason why we ran, to fix some of these issues from things we've experienced ourselves as residents, to get communication out there. We're trying to get a water board set up, we want to do a quarterly newsletter, we're getting stuff online that's never been online, to open those lines of communication so that...
Well, and honestly, I mean, and I'm not blaming any of you guys or anything like that, but there should have been a water committee long before this. Long before this. I mean, just you guys bringing it up tonight is kind of ludicrous that it wasn't brought up a long time ago. Ma'am, do you have something to say?
I'm waiting for your 5 minutes.
Well, I know, but the lawyer talked for about a half hour, so I'm all done.
Can I ask you a question also? You know, you both, especially you made a point, I think, that, you know, this should have been a gradual increase, but something happened when they put the tower up in 2002, 2001?
Yeah, 2002, because the material went down here.
It was financed through ESC for really a third more than what it should have been financed for. And the money was sitting in the village account when Mayor Prado elected and came on. And the question was, what's this doing here? How did they finance a project that was overpriced to the tune of $1 million? And I think it was just maybe a little over $1 million. And so it all became academic because when the EFC found out about it, it was people anyway. And that was sort of my knee-jerk reaction then was like, it's, you know, I don't know how that happened, but the logic, I guess, was the village attorney at the time said, we're going to use it to defray water charges over the next few years and keep everybody's charges down. And, you know, so the board back then was looking at, you know, sort of balancing that between, you know, do we
Do we tell it like it is, or half the people want to do that, you know what I mean, with 0% money, you're paying the principal debt, you're not paying the interest on it, but other half would say, it is what it is, but, it's some of the decisions, I think, the boards have made in the past, and it sounds like it wasn't conveyed well to people, and people weren't aware of it. It's a pretty, legitimate concern. Maybe it should have been ramped up, but the point I was making was when they sold that enterprise, we had major projects here in the village that had to be done, and I advised the mayor, we can't just, hold that money. It's got to be used for these things. So it was sort of news to hear that, there's a direct connection between that account and a reduction in the water budget. But I'm wondering if you look deeper, if you just see that really that the water budget money was used for water repairs, sanitary sewer money was used for sanitary sewer repairs, and then at the end of the day, the enterprise money was put in because at the end of the year, your accounts weren't even. I was never privy to a discussion about the budget, or there was any kind of, I don't attend budget meetings, but I hear enough, or there was any kind of intent to actually keep taxes or charges down in an artificial way like that, and that's really what you're ticked off about, because you're getting hit with something now. But I don't know if that the conscious effort by everybody's part. We've got old infrastructure here that the village has been putting Band-Aids on for 100 years, and all of a sudden they caught up with them, about 8, 9 years ago. Water and sewer.
Well, yeah, but we can't change the past now,
No, I know.
I mean, it's now we have to change it and make it
more. What we try to do is look for financing, which that's all you can do. But
tell us about it. I got a water bill for $1,900.
I want to get them now.
Well, I think it's, it's $1,900. I think it's expiration is why nobody knows why.
Hi, my name is Alexis Samantha. I live at 24 James Street. I just want to go on record as somebody that's not on the board. I wasn't on the previous board, and I'm not on this board. I just want to go on record that on January 15th of this year, I was at the budget meeting where I was informed that the new pricing for the water bills would be $56.10 for the first 8,000 gallons, and then 0.007 per gallon, I think that's right, or 0.07 per gallon after, and that minimum amount was going to include the $19 capital CIP that was on the previous bill. So I knew on that date. I didn't realize at the time that it was going to be retroactive to the quarter that had started in December. I did not realize that there was going to be another special budget meeting on the 28th, and I missed that one when there were some little tweaks done, and then it was accepted and approved. The meeting I went to, Roxanne was there, Deputy Mayor Dunn, Ryan Wood, Mr. Pendergast was there, and Mr. Lynch. But I was there, so I know that it was discussed, and it was a public meeting. I think there was one other member of the public there at the time. I'm not quite sure, but it was me and one other member of the public. But like I said, I just moved here last summer, and I was aware of that meeting. But to bring this, and that was the previous board, that was Deputy Mayor Dunn at that meeting. So I knew that was going to happen. I didn't realize it was going to be retroactive. So I know people are getting bills now, but I'm thinking this should have been the second bill already that they got with new rates, isn't it?
No.
No, it is only the first one? Oh, okay. Because I could swear that the first bill I already got this year earlier had the CIP removed, that it was in the new.
The rate change happened after those.
It did? Okay. Well, I did want to point out though that I don't remember which one, but it was either at the January 20th meeting, which might not have been true because that was before your special budget meeting. That was on the 28th. But so it could have possibly been the February 3rd meeting that it still hadn't been made public, and it wasn't until I made a public comment saying maybe we should let people know that the rates are going up, that then Steve Primo said to Roxanne, oh yeah, you should put it on the website. And then right after that, it did appear, and it still is up there on the yellow banner on the website. So anybody who says they tried reading the minutes or going to the website and blah, 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 it's on the banner, it's been there. It didn't get put on right away like it should have, but it did get put on, at least after the February 3rd meeting. It got put on the website. So that's probably not the most effective way. The website sucks. We've all established that at other meetings, but you don't have to search for it in minutes or even coming in to see what the minutes of the budget meeting or anything like that, because it is on that banner. And then underneath it, there's also a thing about how to save, conserve water if, you know, you're having problems at your house or whatever. And I think that between Jim Lynch and Ryan and Mike, I've discussed about having public meetings, school education things, also about saving water and different things like that. But that's beside the point here. And also speaking to why haven't we had a water committee before? We did last year. Mike Wyant and I were on it with a couple other people. He no longer is on it. He stepped down and he started running for trustee. But if you had been to any of the board meetings last year, you would have known about that too. I was here at all the board meetings last year.
Please address the board.
As you know, I was here at all the board meetings last year when there was all the screaming about the horrible water. I don't really see any of those same people here. Now we have a whole batch of new people screaming about the water rates. I would love to see the people concerned all about the same things, and that's improving the water, and I think that's what the new board is doing. They're really concerned with that. They don't want to keep throwing money. I don't think you guys want to keep throwing money at old problems. You have a whole new set of problems. I think you are established that you're working on that. I would like to know that things are more clear. I didn't want to bother the engineer or Steve Primo, but Ryan or Mike. You got to make it clear to people. I know you want to communicate more, but you got to make it clear that you are working on the water. You got to make it clear when the engineer says we're doing this, exactly what's going on. You have a deadline. He said things were going to be done the beginning of 2016. He talks about, oh, we're doing this about the building. We're talking about plans. What does that mean, step by step? You know, what does that mean for the water issue? What does that mean whenever you're getting hooked up? Why are we paying use rates now when our water is still smelly and brown? When is that going to be fixed? You know, we keep hearing these, like you said, dry engineering reports means nothing to us if we don't understand. Are we still on time with that deadline that we set? I think that's what people want to know and they want to hear. That we do have a set plan. We are on time for meeting that deadline. Nothing's really clear, I think, to people. That's what I want to say. And I hope it'll be in your newsletter or however you get it out to people.
We are on our deadlines. Anybody else in the public? Yes.
My name is Peggy Sales, and I live at 91 Lock Street. And my comment is very simple, and that is the point of communication. You, as the new board and trustees, I'm hoping that what you said here tonight about putting together a newsletter is something that you will follow through with. I think that has been one of the problems that we have here in this community is the communication to the residents. My area where I live, I've talked to my neighbors. They were totally unaware of this raise in water bill. And people kept asking me about it, you know, what's going on, what's going on. So I went to the village office and I asked, you know, what was going on. They explained to me the new pricing per gallon and stuff. So I've gone back to my neighbors and explained that to them. But it would have been so much nicer if we had been told ahead of time. Now you mentioned about the computer and that it's on your website. Not everybody has a computer, not everybody looks at the website. People rely on the Phoenix Register. Not everybody gets the Phoenix Register. Something so major that affects our paychecks and our monthly bills, it would have been nicer if there was a special communication to every resident to be aware that something that major was coming down the road, because not everybody's able to look at the computer, not everybody gets the Phoenix Register. And even if there was something put on the previous bill saying next bill coming up, there will be an increase. A letter saying, breaking down how it was going to be spelled out would have been helpful. And it might have helped the shock factor a little bit more. So, and I'll even go back a little bit farther with the communication. I had my neighbors ask me, do you know anything about the people that are running for the village board? And I said, no, I'm waiting for something to come out in the paper. There was nothing in the paper. I did get one mailing. All that was your pictures and your name. There was no information about you as individuals. And in any previous elections, there's always been a write-up in the newspaper before the election, and sometimes there was even a mailing. And so again, I really hope that in the future, you will follow through and be a board that is a voice for the Village of Phoenix, and you will communicate. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public? Any other comments? Concerns? Yes.
I'm not talking about anything bad.
Oh, you brought the picture. It's not bad.
I am your historian of the village, and I just wanted to announce that a former resident of the town of Skrupel, her name was Marilyn Gonzalez, died this year, and she sent this back to me from my office. It's the copy, not the original, of the bird's eye view of Phoenix done in 1887. And it just was such a nice gesture for her. I've known her all my life and didn't have any expectation she was going to send anything back to me from Maryland, but she did. So that's my good news.
Okay, anything else from the public? Anything else from the trustees? Okay, if not, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion. Any second?
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.